In the next few minutes, you'll discover the real reason why you feel stuck and it's not what you think. Along with that, I'll help you take action on a 4-step framework that will help you build a ready-to-go plan that you can implement on right away and start achieving your goals. And you learn a new mindset shift that helps you take action and get into the top 10% today. Yes, today. So let's get started. First, let us start by understanding how you get stuck in the first place and how the cycle begins. And this is where it all starts, where you have a goal. So here you are, and let's say this right here is your goal. And what you have to do is, you think for going from here where you are right now to get to this goal is a linear path, like the line I just made. But the problem is, that's not the case. Often the journey is like this instead. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. And just having that goal is not enough of a motivator to help us rise through the bottom and then also deal with the setbacks and all the challenges that come in the process of achieving something. So what happens is, you have a goal. You are clear on what you want. But when it comes to action, you get stuck because you're not prepared for the ups and downs. All you have in your mind is that linear path. And so what happens here is that your expectations do not match your reality. Your expectations do not match the reality that you see. And because of that, you get stuck here in terms of the actions you have to take. And this is the loop that you enter. That you have a goal, you are clear on what you want, then you take some action, then you're back on another goal. You take some action, then you're back on another goal. And I have a perfect example to describe what this process exactly is. I wrote a tweet about this quite a few days ago. And that is, having actions like these means you're running on a treadmill. So you're doing a lot of things. You're putting in a lot of effort. You're sweating. You're running at your full pace. But you're not getting anywhere. You're stuck in the same place, right? Because you're on the treadmill over and over and over again. And then this is where you end up. A whole loop that never ends. The cycle in which the 90% of people are stuck. The question is, how do you break out of this cycle? And that is by having the right plan. So as you can see here, once you have the right plan, you're no longer in a loop. You're jumping into action. The plan is leading you into action. It's no longer a question mark. And so how do we get started on this? And that is by understanding the 4 simple steps, the framework I talked about earlier. That is what you're jumping into now, in which the first step is begin with the end in mind. All of us have goals, but do we have clear goals? Because it's one thing to want a good job. So that's just a simple thing. You want a job. But it's another thing to want a job in a specific industry, in a specific field, a job that fulfills something for you, a job that feels meaningful to you, a job that pays well, a job that's near your home. All those details matter. So just having a simple goal is not enough. You need the details too. And so what does this translate into real life? Well, the place where I implemented this in a big way was when I wrote Explore the New You. Back in 2020, I did not set a simple goal. I did not say I want to write a book. That's a pretty generic goal, right? Everybody says they want to write a book. Many people don't even get around to it. What did I do differently? I made that goal specific. I said I want to write a non-fiction book. So that's the first step in being specific. Then I want to write it in the next few months. I set a deadline for myself, 1st December 2020. So that's the deadline I had set for myself. And then I also made in my mind the idea that I want to make it simple, practical, and actionable. So by having all these ideas sorted out, now my goal was no longer to write a book. My goal was to write a book that empowers people, that gives them clarity, that is highly practical, and write and publish it by 1st December 2020. Now that is specific, and that is the specificity I want you to aim for, and that means beginning with the end in mind. We are fully clear on where you want to go, by when you want to go there, what is that you want to accomplish. All these details matter because a generic goal will not motivate you. A generic goal will not fill you up with enough purpose to get you to the other side. Only a specific goal will. So ask yourself, why does this matter to me? Why is this important? And make sure you know that in your heart. Make sure that it's really registered in here, because once it is, you will no longer need to find the motivation. You will start to get things done, and that's the first step to getting into the 10%. Now we'll move on to the second one, and that is figure out where you are right now. Now we've figured out the end destination, but what about the starting point? Because you go to any navigation app, you go to Google Maps, and what they'll ask you first, along with your destination, is where you are right now. So that then Google Maps can find the best way for you to get there. Is it by walking? Is it by taking a bike? Is it by car? By public transport? What it is. Just like that, to get to your goals, you need to figure out where you are right now. If you don't know, you'll end up like John. So that's a fictional friend of ours that I've made up right now, so that you can really understand why this matters. So John's goal was to really do well in his exams, to ace them, to become the top student, become the best. So that was his goal. He wanted to really ace his exams. And what did he do? He went out and talked to everyone. He asked his teachers for advice. He then asked his friends for suggestions. He then asked his parents for revision tips. And all of that is great. But the problem was, John never really studied the subjects in the first place. So all of the revisions, all of the advice, all of the suggestions, they didn't matter. They couldn't have done anything for him. Why? Because he was starting off in the wrong place itself. For people who want to ace their exams, the first core is to get a proper understanding of each subject and then move on to revisions. But because John didn't know the stage where he was at, he implemented all of these tips. He tried to revise, but that didn't make any sense to him because he hadn't understood things in the first place, and he ended up failing his exams. He did not do well. Now the thing is that a lot of people, when the goal is not as clear as this, will blame the advice. They'll say, this person did not guide me the right way. But that's not the problem. The problem was in their preparation, in their understanding of where they were. So that is what we need to build right now. And how can we build that? Very simply, by using the SWOT analysis. So this means figuring out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what opportunities you have, and what threats you might need to deal with. This really presents to you a clear picture of your starting point, both the longitude and the latitude, so that the Google Maps of your life knows where exactly to start and where exactly to go. So let's break this down step by step. The first step is strengths. What are you good at? The things or the skill sets you have, your abilities. So whatever it is, I want you to write a lot of things down here. What are you really good at? Maybe you're a good painter. Maybe you're a good coder. Whatever it is, what skills do you have? Maybe you have great communication skills. All of that stuff matters here because it will guide the way you move forward. So be open, be honest, and just write all your skills down here. Like John, your skill can be maybe, let's say, being aware of subjects, having a good grasping power, having a logical mind that can think through science and maths questions. So these are the questions John would answer for his specific goal. I want you to apply this to your goal and understand the things you're good at, your skills and your abilities. Once you're done with that, move on to your weaknesses. Now, the things you are not good at, the things you need to improve in, and the things where you are lacking in some way or the other. Now, this has to be in accordance to your goal. For John, this can be not understanding English literature very well. Maybe that's a subject he's weak at. So that's something he needs to improve. Like that, what is it for your goal? What are the things you need to improve in? What are some places where you're lacking? And I want you to be really honest here, because no one is going to look at your sheet. Only you are. So there's no point in hiding. There's no point in sugarcoating things. If you start honest from this moment on, you'll know exactly where you're starting from. It won't be blurry, and that will help you do all the steps ahead in a much better way. So please make sure that you're fully honest here. And then we move on to the next step, the most exciting step. What are the opportunities you have here? What chances can you take? What ideas can you explore? And what new opportunities are there for you? And why this matters is that you have to figure out how to get to your goal. Today, the world is really big. The world is really open. And if you're a resourceful person, you will be able to understand just how much of a blessing this is. You have every single resource at your fingertips. And if you're not a resourceful person, I made a video recently about how you can become one, that is about how you can become a high agency person. So if you'd like to check it out, go to the link here and you can watch that video as well. Once you're a resourceful person, you'll understand how to really take action on these opportunities, and that will also make you aware of the challenges that might come in your way. And that brings us to the next point, and that is the threats. So here you have to write your challenges, the places where you might be feeling stuck, the barriers that you'll have to overcome. Think about them, write them down. Whatever that challenge might be, it does not matter. Maybe you have very little time. Maybe there's a lot of competition. Maybe you don't know how to get there. Maybe you need a mentor and you don't have one. It doesn't matter. Just write down those challenges. I know it can make you feel that your goal is not achievable, that there's so many barriers, but know that the greatest strength is in knowing the enemy. This is the old Chinese proverb, and it still matters today. Instead of running away from the challenges, we do a lot better if we just embrace them. We understand them and we get to know them, because in awareness lies power. When you're aware, you are powerful enough to change things, and that is what we're doing here. We're building awareness. And now you have two things sorted out. You know where you want to go and you know where you're starting from. Now what you have to do is bridge the gap in between. And bridging the gap begins with taking a step back. I know this is not what you might have expected, but here's why this matters. A lot of times, for the people who wear spectacles, what happens is that you're wearing your spectacles on your forehead, but you forget that they're there. So you're searching around the entire room trying to find them until you look in the mirror, someone says to you, hey, they're on your forehead. That's the same thing that happens in life with our goals. When we are too involved in something, when the distance is not there, our goals can become like that spectacle on our forehead. We're trying to search for it, we're trying to find a way out, but we can't, because we can't see them. We need someone else to point it out. And why can they point it out? Because they have distance. They can see us from the other side. And that distance is what we need to create, because distance brings clarity. So here's what you have to do. Imagine that you are here, and on the other side is a friend of yours or a colleague of yours, and you have to assign your goals to them. All your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, all of your goals, whatever it is that you've planned, assign it all to a third person. Every single thing. And then put yourself into the role of an advisor, that you are here advising them. So your friend and your colleague are coming to you for advice. They want to know how they can achieve their goal, how they can overcome the challenges or threats that they face, and you have to become that advisor, a third person who can look at it from an objective, a distant point of view, and then give your reflections on it on the best way forward. When you go into this role, something magical happens, and what is that? Is you can see everything clearly. You can see the problems that might come up in the future. You can see the loopholes that you might have to deal with. And when you write that plan out for a third person and then start to implement it, you will see that it's a lot better and a lot clearer than something you could have come up with if you just kept thinking from your perspective. So now that you have this clarity, it's time to move to the fourth step. And the fourth step is action. Now you have everything clear. You know where you're starting from. You know what your goal is. You know what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. And you also know the advice you would give to someone to get started on this. Now the only thing that's left is get started. And here's how you can do that. Ask yourself, what is the first thing that I can do? Just the first thing. And here's why that matters. A lot of things all at once can become overwhelming. But just doing one thing is pretty easy. Just taking that very first step towards your goals is simple. It's frictionless, it's not that difficult, and maybe you can even get it done in 5 minutes if it's something like booking a name for your business or filling out a job application or making a study plan, whatever it is. You just have to make sure that you get started on the first step and do it right now, do it today. Don't postpone it, don't procrastinate it. And if you feel like procrastinating, you feel like, no, I should do this later on, say to yourself, I'll do this for 10 minutes. If I still feel like procrastinating, I'll stop right there. I come back the next day. More often than not, you'll forget you even set the deadline. All you have to do is overcome that initial inertia, the barriers that you have in your mind. And once you get into the momentum, get into the flow, you won't feel like stopping. So start with the one thing. And what does this do? It puts you in the top 10%. Yes. Today, right now, you've just entered the top 10% because you've chosen to take action on your dreams. It doesn't matter how big or small that action is. What matters is that you got started. And that alone puts you in the league of achievers, in the league of people who get things done, and in the league of people who change the world. And so, congratulations, you've done it. And now I can't wait for you to succeed. I can't wait for you to keep taking action on your goals and get to the other side. And to help you in that, I've made a special resource for you. Instead of you having to write all of this down, I've made a special PDF that you can download. We'll get all of this formatted and you can just write down and fill it out like a worksheet. To download that, you can go below to the link in the description. It will take you to my website and you'll get the free PDF in your email. I hope you take action on that, you get started on this, and know that I'm always rooting for you. Thank you.